Okay, well, good morning, everybody. It's good to be here with you all today, this morning. Despite the weather, we made it just fine, and thank you, everybody, for bearing the weather to come to church. So, first, I have a PowerPoint to share with you about Japan, and then we'll open our Bible to Matthew 9 and a couple verses in chapter 10. We can get that up. There we go. Okay. So we have prayer cards by the front with our picture and the same picture on it. But my name's David. My wife, Lydia, is in the kind of children's room. We have 4 children. There's Rhea, who's 10. Micah's 9. Aaliyah's back with my wife, too. She's 4. And then Gabriel's about 16 months. So a very lively, lively group. Okay, so as you may have heard, Japan is the second most unreached people group in the world. So that means the less than 0.5% of the population is evangelical Christian, which equates to about 1 out of every 200 people that you meet is going to be a born-again Christian. There's roughly 123 million people in the country of Japan. And if you look at the picture, we are serving in Kobe, which is just west a little bit of the city of Osaka. It's the star there. So. Okay, and this is just a picture of the harbor area. That's a really beautiful city. So Kobe, the word means God's house. When you think about it, who and what religion they named God or which God can be a bit scary to think about, but we know that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. There's 1.5 million people in the city of Kobe. Our team is tasked to cover about 3.3 million. It's the birthplace of jazz in Japan, if you like jazz. Karaoke was invented here. It's home to the oldest mosque in Japan. And last point I'll mention is there's the Ikuta Shrine, which is built around the 3rd century AD. And we'll see a picture here inside the shrine. The little plaques on the left are in the shape of a heart. And these are prayer requests that people come to the shrine and they want the priest to pray for them for love. So a boyfriend or girlfriend or that sort of thing. And on the right are children's prayer requests. So children will come. You can't see it very well, but it's in the shape of a bear. And so they'll pray for, so-and-so who's sick, whatever the prayer might be. So when short teams come, we often will guide them through Ikuta Shrine just to show that Japanese, Americans, whoever you are, you have desires in your heart, and many people acknowledge there's a higher being, but unfortunately they don't know God like we know him. They don't know the true God of the Bible. So it helps us to, as a prayer reminder. Some cultural challenges. The first I'll mention is conforming to the norm. So if you think about Japanese schools, some schools will have uniforms or things like that. In businesses, there's often a strict dress code. Just people in general will wear more neutral clothes because nobody wants to stick out. Because if you stick out, then they have a proverb I'll share in a little bit. But if you stick out, then you get hammered down. One more example of that is in school. Oftentimes, if the teacher asks a question, the answer might be pretty obvious, but people are not quick to raise their hand because they don't want to appear like they know everything and always call on the one person. Whereas I think in American schools, usually, if I know the answer, I want to raise my hand, and I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just showing that I know the answer, right? So another challenge is just the low birth rate as well as an aging population. So it's just a challenge that the government faces and them as a country. Another one I'll mention is the fear of cults. In 1995, there was a gas attack by a cult group leader, which hurt many people and killed some people. And so that was 30 years ago, and yet even today, when people hear about religion, they kind of, they're scared because they kind of put that in their religion box, and then they just equate religion with it being scary or unknown, kind of foreign. Like, I don't really want to touch that because it's dangerous. And paired fear of cults with little to no gospel saturation, and you get a pretty hard ground to break through. One other thing I'll mention: sometimes when you talk with people, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I was raised up in a Baptist kindergarten, or even an Episcopal elementary school, something like that, some like religious school." And so they think that they know about Christianity, but it's just enough for them to know that they really don't know the full picture. They think that they know, but they don't. And this is a point that Carlton Walker on the video, actually, so he serves in Sapporo now, but he shared that point with me. Next, just in many countries may face these issues as well, but we have overwork, suicide, bullying. And as I mentioned earlier, in Japanese, it's deru kui wa utareru. Means the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. So the picture is of Japanese businessman, maybe the boss. He's the boss, and then he's looking at his employees. One of them sticks out, and so he's hitting them down so that everyone's kind of equal and everyone can live in a supposed harmony. There's a lot of great things about living in Japan, though, despite the challenges. There's a very low crime rate. The streets are clean. The people externally are moral, very strong work ethic, and it's a very beautiful country, and we live in such a beautiful city. This is a picture next to Kobe University. And here's another one that's just a 20-minute walk away from our house. Kobe is the city's kind of on a hill. So we live maybe kind of middle of the hill. So there's mountains on one side, and then there's the ocean on the other side. So it's really neat. This is a picture of my son and daughter's school. And this is at a track meet. So they'd all wear, the caps are reversible, but they have white team or red team. And so they compete in different races and things like that. John Piper says that missions exist because worship doesn't. This is talking about the 6 core missionary tasks of the IMB and teams. So in the middle is abiding in Christ. We realize that if we're not abiding in Christ and walking with Him daily, we can drift in our walk, and very dangerous things can happen. You can burn out, have just moral failures. So definitely emphasize ourselves in abiding in Christ. But as we do that, we look to enter the community. So the first point's entry, evangelism, discipleship, healthy church formation, leadership development, and an exit to partnership. So just a couple pictures related to our team. You have entry and evangelism. The picture on the bottom left is my wife, and she's teaching. She made a mother-child kind of neighborhood club, an English club. So she would teach kids the Bible using English, and then she would prepare a packet, and then she'd talk with the mothers in Japanese, and so she'll kind of talk through the story. And so indirectly, she's sharing the story with them. She's also preparing them to interact with their children in English and things like that. And then the other two are just events that our team has participated in, a lot of English clubs and things like that. Speaking of healthy church formation, we are members of a local church. And so these are just the top right pictures with a picture of me with the church staff there. So they're an international church, and God's just really blessing them with growth. And they moved to 2 services last year, and so we're just really excited to partner with them and work with them, which brings us to our second-term goal, to church plant. These are just some things that are on our mind, but that are very important. We want to share the gospel with people, obviously, but one missionary who's been on the field for, I think, 30 plus years said, all evangelism in Japan is relational evangelism. And so it takes time, it takes effort, and so that's why but sharing not only the message of the gospel, but sharing our life so that we can, as best as we can, live a holy life to show how our life is different than other people's who don't know him. Next is just some outreach events that we're thinking about planning to do, like hospitality, opening our home. There's a park close by us, and we go there probably 3 times a week just to play with the kids, and just through that, you meet neighbors and you meet people in the community. College ministry, Bible study, things like that. So this is our second term goal is to church plant, and for however long it takes, we just pray that the Lord would give growth as we plant the seeds and water and work with our local church there. So partnerships that we've developed, obviously, thank you so much for being part of the SBC. There's 47,000 SBC churches that give to Lottie Moon and Cooperative Program and things like that make it possible for us to be there. Mustard Seed Network is a church planting network in Japan, and that's where our church of membership is. And the family on the right is opening a children's cafeteria as they work with Mustard Seed. So we're very excited to work with them and partner with them. And the last partnership I'll mention is a Baptist Indonesian hospital has sent 4 students so far to Japan to learn Japanese and to be local kind of nurses and healthcare workers in Japan. So it's really neat. We were just kind of brought in to this, not by accident. We know it was God's plan and timing, but just as these students are studying language, we just want to equip them and help them to acclimate to Japan and to just provide any guidance that we can as they look to reach in their field. So the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Psalm 24:1 is this. And so as we look over the city, we're reminded to pray for the people of Japan. The IMB overall has over 3,500 missionaries, about 3,000 children, and serving in 155 countries. So very expansive work. And of course, Lottie Moon, who we celebrate, we have the Lottie Moon Christmas offering named after her. She served for nearly 40 years in Japan, and her health was failing near the end of her life in China. And her team said, you need to go back. She weighed about 50 pounds. You need to go back to America and recover. On the way back to America, she stopped in the port of Kobe, Japan, and she passed away there Christmas Eve, 1912. So she has a special place in our hearts, for sure. She was instrumental in just encouraging churches from America to support the work that she was doing overseas. And we read her biography recently, and some days she would talk for, 14 hours or something, and she just would share until literally she could not share anymore because there was just such a need. People were coming to her, asking her questions, and so just such a great testimony of faithful labor. And that's the picture of the harbor there. So you can partner with us. Of course, we encourage you to give to Lottie Moon. One other way that you can give is to our Kobe team, and that we have different project cards there. And so that's all handled through the IMB. But we have a Reach the Community project card, which can help with food costs and Bible materials. And just as we look to church plant, it will take finances to rent a space. So you can consider partnering with us that way as well. So my email's there, and of course you can catch me after the service too, and grab our prayer card on the way out. So thank you so much.